which leads me up to Brandon Ingram, a star who's eligible for an extension and does have current day value to the Pelicans. But at the same time, they seem like they're at an influx of what price point to sign him at. Because if they do give him at least a decent number on a deal, he's going to virtually become untradeable, which for the first time in today's NBA does not mean he's not valuable. He just has no value in the trade market, but he can still put up decent numbers in every game. The Pelicans GM David Griffin spoke on this. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
So I think from a relationship standpoint, we've been really clear we prefer Brandon stay with us, and Brandon's been pretty clear he prefers to stay with us. At the same time, there is a financial reality to this, and where I think we can go in terms of keeping this group together might not be as far as he and his agency would like us to be able to go. And so for now, we're going to play it out. And I think we're committed to each other. I think we're committed to seeing if this team can work in a way that makes it make sense. You know, we're not in a market where we get to be wrong. You know, unfortunately, right now in the NBA, a lot of markets and the person, and you know this, person in your position has to make decisions or they don't. In some markets, you don't have to make any decisions. You get a max, and you get a max, and you get a max, and you hoard talent. We're not that market. So we're going to have to make sure the fit is right, and we're going to have to make sure that we can keep the group together. So if there's a way we can do that with Brandon in a sustainable way, we want to do it.
We see Pat Riley right now kind of going through the same thing with Jimmy Butler and his extension. Jimmy is obviously valuable to the Heat, but they got to be very, very strategic on what price point they should get him at going forward under these new CBA rules. Because right after that deal is inked, that player's trade value is going to be significantly less under these new CBA rules, even though he has on-court impact on his current team.
And I think he feels the same.
Do you feel his value around the league is high? Are there a bunch of interested teams in him?
Even the media needs an adjustment period right now because the quote-unquote star player trade value in the open market is no longer in correlation to his current value on the team, even if he puts 24, 25 plus points per game, very similar to Trae Young. Everyone can see it. Trae Young is valuable. He still puts up all-star numbers. But because the price point that he's at under these new CBA rules is going to affect how many teams can really even acquire him. So it's not just from the fans, it's also from the media, because the media tends to correlate teams not wanting to trade for a guy, meaning that he has no value around the league. No, he just doesn't have the value because of his contract.
It's interesting. I would have told you that coming into the offseason, his value was incredibly high, and he was one of the players that everybody on our team, everybody asked our team about. I think what happens is, and Ryan, you know this really well, when you don't have to pay them, you want all of them.
Right.
And then when you actually have to hand them $50 million a year, mechanically it gets complicated. And so I think one of the things that's fascinating about this new CBA is the teams that benefit the most from a player like a Brandon Ingram are teams like ours that think we're a Brandon Ingram away from being a championship caliber team.
Does that not sound like the Utah Jazz? The player that they're looking to draft or the player that they're looking to acquire maybe through free agency was Lauri Marketing. Small market franchise, not really looking to go crazy, making a big free agency splash. They're sort of in the middle of a rebuild. Marketing was a perfect player for them to re-sign. And that's really going to happen a lot throughout the league. Even though he had high trade value before he struck a deal, we're going to see after the grace period where he can't be traded, that his value in the trade market is going to plummet compared to his output. Once again, this is all under these new CBA rules. They've made this so restrictive just to trade players. The days of Russell Westbrook signing a supermax and getting traded, same thing for James Harden, the Damian Lillard trade from Portland to Milwaukee, those days are over. Trades like that are going to be virtually impossible to make.
Mechanically, this CBA doesn't allow most of them to make a trade. So this is the first market in the first year that I think you're ever going to see that. There are a lot of guys that are mechanically incapable of being traded. And Brandon's somebody, fortunately, we have no real desire to trade, so it doesn't matter. But I think at the end of the day, that's going to be something that becomes more common.
And it definitely will be more common. There's numerous teams that have major decisions to make. You could look at Julius Randle. The value for him on the Knicks is nowhere near compared to his trade value, especially if he strikes a new deal. I mean, fuck it, even the number he's currently at, other teams might not value him in the same way, even with his output, because of that contract and some of the obligations it will force that new team to be tied down to. That's what teams are looking to avoid. It's not necessarily the players not valuable. It's everything that comes with their contract that restricts their team from even getting better in the future. So these are brand new conundrums. We'll see how these teams begin to pivot. And I'm pretty sure they're going to be great GMs are going to find loopholes to get around a lot of these situations.